Real Deal with Akil podcast. I have right now joining me through the phone. I have Houston Chronicle writer, Texans beat writer, Aaron Wilson. Aaron, you came on the show before. I'm glad to have you back on again to talk Texans football each and every week now from week 6 on. First things first, let's just cut to the chase. Bill O'Brien. The first 5 weeks, they start off 2-3, 2 wins in overtime. Bill O'Brien, we all know he's on the hot seat. What are the chances that he can keep his job secured with the Texans, winning record or losing record?
I don't think he's on the hot seat, honestly. I disagree with that premise. Whether he should be is debatable, but the fact of the matter is the McNairs are happy with him. They do not plan to fire Bill O'Brien regardless of how the season goes. I mean, I think, are there any scenarios, maybe like the guys quit on him or something, stop playing hard? Yeah, maybe then. But, one of the biggest reasons they aren't a good red zone team is the offensive line. One of the reasons that Deshaun Watson gets hit so much is they don't have a good offensive line. And it affects everything. It affects the defense. It's the biggest weakness on this team. And I don't think paying big money for Nate Solder would have fixed it. They didn't get in on Andrew Norwell. They chose to spend their money in other ways. They did invest some in the offensive line. I think Zach Fulton was a good signing. Shantae Henderson would have been a good signing, but he broke his ankle. They had no depth. They couldn't afford any injuries at this position. And it's not surprising to me that, guys that are picked in the 4th round from Bucknell, like Julian Davenport, that they struggle. And Martinez Rankin's a 3rd-round pick. There's almost no one where you could say there's a pedigree, like Nick Martin, who's just solid. Zach Fulton, maybe they start for other teams, but almost everyone else, they just be a backup. So it's a bad offensive line. It leads to Deshaun Watson taking all these hits, and it's a trickle-down effect. But I don't think he's going to be fired because of it. Does he need to improve a lot as an offensive coordinator? Yeah. Maybe they, after the season, say, hey, we want you to hire an offensive coordinator? Yeah, I could see the McNairs possibly saying that. But for right now, yeah, they're just going to ride with Bill O'Brien and Brian Gaine, and this is the plan that they have. And they just signed them to those big extensions and spent a lot of money, and they would have to eat those contracts. I don't think the McNairs care much about having to, spend the money. It's just a matter of they won't do it. And they're pretty patient. I think they're going to stick with Bill O'Brien. If they stink again next year, yeah, maybe then you could say hot seat. They're not going to do it. They're not going to fire Bill O'Brien.
One of the biggest criticism that Bill O'Brien has taken upon fans in the city around Houston, and when you listen to some games, the commentators be like, what is he calling? The play calling. Do you think that it's time for Bill O'Brien to finally get an offensive coordinator so he can stop calling the plays itself?
Yeah, I do. I think that he needs to start grooming Sean Ryan, letting him be more involved. See, does he have any knack for it? We don't know if Sean Ryan would be a good play caller. He's just never called plays. He's a quarterback's coach. So what does he do? He runs the drills. He talks to Deshaun Watson in the game, gives him tips. So that's different from being in charge of the whole offense. I think primarily to have an offensive coordinator, you have to go outside. You have to find somebody. Because you don't have anyone on the staff that's capable of doing it, and you don't have Bill willing to step away from it. So it's unlikely that he would fire himself as offensive coordinator and go find somebody in the offseason. I don't think he has intentionally wanted to have somebody on the staff that could potentially take over those reins. So, no, I just don't see it.
With Deshaun Watson, him taking a beating in Dallas, how long can you see? Okay, let's just back up a little bit. The status is now that he feels great now that he's ready to play against Buffalo, correct? Okay, so if he's playing against Buffalo Sunday, we need to keep him healthy because he is not only important to the team, but he's important to the city and the franchise. We know the O-line is struggling. Can Coach Bill O'Brien, and I don't want to keep going back on Bill O'Brien, but we talking about Watson now, but can he call some plays to, hey, maybe not have him run on 4th down or have him get out the pocket as much and get the ball out of his hands quicker?
He's got to listen, though. He has to change his style of play.
Right.
And so that's on Deshaun. he has to accept the coaching and listen to what they're saying. They're telling him that this isn't sustainable, that you're taking risks, that you have to protect yourself. And he does slide occasionally. You've seen that. But he will, if he thinks he has a chance to score a touchdown, he'll challenge guys. But, yeah, part of this is how they coach him and how coachable is he. And he's got to not be so stubborn about it.
Right.
I think he has to change just as much as they have to change.
Right.
Some of this is on Deshaun. And some of the hits he takes are on Deshaun. We can't just absolve him of everything. I know that because he's talented, because he is a popular player, and, is young, and there's all these sort of built-in things, but we have to be objective. He has 5 interceptions because of himself. He shouldn't have that many interceptions. He takes undue chances. Some of the jump balls he throws up, the receivers should do a little better job. But, yeah, I think we have to, as much as we appreciate Deshaun's ability, his potential, the style he plays with, and I love the way he plays, but he needs to get better.
Right.
And that's a fact. Yeah, he's on pace for 5,000 passing yards. That's great. And about 28 touchdowns, and those are good, but he's got to get a little better.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes is playing better football than Deshaun Watson.
He is.
He's one of his peers, and he watched his whole rookie year. So, yeah, I think Deshaun has to get better. I think Deshaun will tell you that, too. He has to play better.
The Texans secondary, kind of blah. Ever since the franchise started in 2002, the secondary has been like blah. Even though they've been number one in pass defense and defense in the past. But this season, you got Jonathan Joseph, who signed an extension. How can the secondary improve from here on out? Do you see it improving anytime soon? Because they gave us some plays to Dallas that was like, it's the Cowboys. They have no weapons.
Better against Dallas, yeah. I mean, but Dak Prescott's not a very good quarterback. And, let's be honest. Do those receivers scare anyone? No. I mean, they clearly missed Dez Bryant.
Right. And then we look at this, and then we look at the secondary, Jonathan Joseph playing 15 yards back. We look at Kareem Jackson at times. He has his moments. He had a good game against Dallas. I like Justin Reed. When you watch the Texans practice this week, what was the mentality of the Texans pass defense? Because we know what the front seven is going to do each and every week. But the secondary, that's the big question for me.
Right. I mean, they didn't really have good corners when Aaron Colvin and Kevin Johnson were healthy. So, Jonathan Joseph has to play with a big cushion. He's 34 years old. He's lost a step or two. I think the best 4 right now is having Jackson play corner opposite Joseph and having Justin Reed, the rookie, play opposite Tyrann Mathieu. And that's what you got to ride with at this point. But to me, Jackson was always better than Colvin and Johnson. He just happened to be their best safety to start next to Tyrann Mathieu as well. So, yeah, is he great? No. Is he solid? Yes. At least he hits somebody. He has a little bit of pop.
Right.
He makes a couple plays. So, no, that's their best group. One of the problems besides Colvin being hurt is that Colvin wasn't worth the $34 million. Colvin looked good in Jacksonville, I think. He was okay, but mostly because he's playing with A.J. Boye and Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
So they overrated his talent. They missed on him, in my opinion. I'm not seeing any playmaking from him before he hurt his ankle.
Right. One last question before I let you go. Preview the Bills and Texans game. How do you see that game playing out?
If they stop the run and confuse Josh Allen a little bit, they'll win the game. I don't see Buffalo giving them that many problems. This is a very winnable game. The Bills receivers are sorry. That's the worst receivers in the NFL. They're worse than Dallas. Allen has a lot of tools, but he gets confused. This is a veteran defense. This is Romeo Crennel. He should be able to disguise a lot of stuff. They should be able to rush. They're not going to be able to block Clowney a lot. And on the other side of the football, Jerry Hughes and those guys are ballers. I think Kyle Williams is really good. I think Tre'Davious White is all right. They have him shadow. They have him stay with the number one. But do I think he can shut down DeAndre Hopkins? No. And I think he can get open against their other corner. In my opinion, this is a game, you should win it. I don't know, blowouts, especially with the way the Texans played, but, in the red zone. But this is a real winnable game. Yeah, I'd be surprised if they're not 3-3 after Sunday.